This is a look at what we are creating next. I call this framing the canvas because the object here is you want to create a frame, basically. So this, where we drew the pencil line in marking, that is going to be our stitching guide, because when you're sewing a canvas into a seam, you don't want to catch the canvas in the seam. It makes it impossible to press flat. So having this muslin frame will enable you to sew a canvas that is a sew-in canvas into a seam without thickening the seams. So this is what we're going to be creating in this next section. We have some work to do, so let's get busy. As you can see here, I have one of the body canvas units pinned together, and so I'm going to pin the other together. But what I'm going to draw your attention to here is notice that the muslin is behind the canvas with the marks facing up. In the final positioning of this unit, the face fabric will be underneath, so the muslin will sandwich between. But I don't want to confuse you too much with that right now. So the object here really is to pin, matching the cut edges of the canvas with the cut edge of the muslin. So let me just draw out here a little bit. So now I'm just going to show you where I'm going to pin, then I'll go off camera and pin because it's like watching paint dry. We're going to pin up the side here, around the armhole, shoulder, up, and the neck, and then we're going to pin all the way down to here. So I will go off camera and do that and bring it back and show you. So as you can see, I pinned starting down here all around this edge to here, down to here, the neck, the shoulder, the armhole, and some of the side seam. You notice I did not pin along here. That is not necessary. So now that everything is pinned, we can go over to the sewing machine to sew the two layers together. So here we are at the machine, and you notice that the pencil line is just riding along this toe of the foot. The object is we're making a zigzag stitch, a serpentine stitch, and we want the serpentine stitch to go up but not over this pencil line. This pencil line will be the cutting line later. Now the stitch length it's a serpentine, or you could use a zigzag. The stitch length is 2.0 and the width is 5.0. So let me just zoom in here so you can get a better sense of what it looks like up close. So begin. So when you're steering it, it's better to have it a little bit inside that pencil line than outside. I mean, if you nick it a little bit, it's not going to kill you. But we're going to be sewing all the way around. We're sewing, to remind you, the muslin to the canvas. Okay, heading towards the home stretch. Okay, so now let me zoom out a little bit here. Now, notice that we stopped it right here, that we did not sew along this edge. That's very important. So, my next step is to take these over to the pressing table, give it a press, and I will meet you back at the work table. So here we have both of our canvases. This is the one we just brought back from the machine. This one I worked ahead and finished up. The object here, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see. The object here is on the canvas side. We're going to trim off the seam allowance of the canvas, leaving the muslin. And then on the muslin side, we're going to trim off the muslin, leaving a frame. That's where we're going with this. So I'm going to show you a little trick about trimming. When trimming something like this, the natural tendency for most people is to come at it and try to trim the seam allowances from the top, which is not as efficient. What I have found works much more smoothly and efficiently is if you have a fairly long scissor and you have the raw edges facing the palm of your hand. That way you can get the scissor, you can slide it between the layers and cut the canvas closer. So now the trick here is you can really get either a little further away or a little closer to the canvas by the tilt of the scissor. You notice I'm tilting the scissor close to the canvas because I want that cut to be right on the pencil line. So the advantage also here, you can really tightly control how close you get to the stitches, is that the blade itself slides along the stitches like a letter opener. That's how I liken it. So the object here, and I'm just going to trim a little bit here, and then I will go off camera to finish, is you want to trim it off closely. So we are on the home stretch. So once we get done trimming this away, we're going to turn the work over. So this is step one. We have trimmed the seam allowances of the canvas so that it exposes the muslin. From here, we're going to turn the work over. And again, raw edges facing the palm. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and trim out the muslin. Now the beauty of using a long scissor is you can get a long, smooth cut. Just something to know. So we are headed towards the finish line. And there you have it. So now, let me go press it, and then we will survey what we have created. So now we have both of our canvas units. So now let me just zoom in a little bit. So what you see here is you have the cut edge here is also the stitching line. So the canvas hangs from the muslin frame. So this is the way to attach a canvas, a sew-in canvas, so you don't catch the canvas in the seams. So we have both of these finished. We are ready to put these away and move on to the next step.